maybe one of the most understated things about this Buffalo Bills team last year. I want to see Tre White moving around again at 100% speed because I'll tell you what, if he's back to the way he was pre-injury, he's one of the best corners in the entire NFL. He was obviously, he came back last year and he was a shell of what he was before the injury. But I think that's just because it's maybe it's to be expected coming back from the injury. I by no means think his career's washed up.
No, yeah,
I just think, you know what I'm saying? I want to see him 100% healthy and moving around like he did with confidence, like he did before the injury. I think that's something that if there is a storyline that I care about right now with OTAs and minicamp, I want to see Tre White moving around and I want to hear good reports about him.
Yeah, this is a one for me that is one of my most frustrating conversations that I have about football and injuries is because we've seen people come back way sooner than they should and come back and play well. Really, Adrian Peterson ruined ACL injuries and the expectation of those years ago with how people should recover from them. Because honestly, we had this conversation with Harrison Phillips when he tore his and everybody expected him to come right back right away. And it took a full year and a half. Tre White was the same thing last year. People were so frustrated that he barely passed the deadline of a year. And people were getting like, he doesn't love football. He doesn't care enough to get out there. And it's like, dude,
we heard that
less than a year from a full, it's still major surgery. Getting ACL surgery, we don't think of it as a major surgery anymore. I think people kind of think of it as like almost, just an operation and you're back within a year or less. That's not true. And when you are back, you're not back to the person you were before. It takes at least a full year and a half, if not 2 years. So just, I don't know why we still have this conversation and don't think about that. The way people are talking about Tre White absolutely drove me bananas last year. Like, you can't say a guy doesn't care because he's worried about his body and doesn't want to rush back from an injury too quick and further hurt himself in his prime. Like, that would have been absolutely stupid. So you got to wait for a guy to be ready. I think there's a lot of expectation. A guy like Vaughn is going to come back early because he talks about it. You see the videos, he looks good. I think we need to anticipate that even if he does come back, that he isn't going to be the 100% Von Miller that we saw last year. He'll still be better than any defensive end that the Bills have, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And to that point, I think the way we look at Tre White at the end of the year last year, there's a lot of context in how he looked, right? The safety play behind him, very questionable at the end of the year, which matters, right? When Tre White's playing at his best, it's also when Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are playing at their best. There's a correlation there, in how everybody plays. Also, we know, I think everybody tries to say what's more important, coverage or pass rush, getting to the quarterback or playing good in coverage. And it's both. The answer is both. They all work together. It depends on the play. It works in unison. And the Bills' defensive pressure really dropped when Von Miller went out. And then Tre White came back right when Von Miller went out. You saw the drop in QB pressures and getting to the quarterback. And you're going to see an increase in production behind that. And then you add in the safety problems and him recovering from injury. I think it was just a perfect storm of, for fans, it doesn't look like the Tre White that we're used to. It doesn't feel like the Tre White we're used to, but he made plays. He made plays where he got beat, came back and broke up the play. He was right there step for step with guys. I thought I saw enough from Tre to feel like, okay, if we get the safety back and we can get some pressure with defense, Tre's going to go right back into where he was. And again, giving him the liberty of having that full year and a half of recovery behind him. Tre, I get why people want to see it. I think you're right. I think that's probably one of the better storylines of this period is seeing him move around and having that confidence. But I'm still fully confident in Tre returning to the player that he was pre-injury.